Hi, and welcome to the Count to 10 podcast. My name's Simon Sanborn. I'm a behavior-focused teacher, and I started this podcast to kind of see if I could help with people understanding behaviors, understanding communication, kind of understanding how human beings connect and how they kind of get along and make their way through this world. So this is kind of a podcast that's for just about anybody who deals with communication and the behaviors that can kind of be involved with that. I am in the process of becoming a marriage and family therapist, and I've been doing a lot of reading that understands a lot more about the brain, kind of how people interact and get along. Communication is the biggest piece of that, and how we communicate matters. This is really going to be kind of a tip for teachers, but it could be a tip for anybody or a parent who's working with not just a kid who's got behaviors, but just kids in general, or your spouse, or other people in your lives. The communication is the key, and if we're trying to communicate with each other, which is the exchange of information, the exchange of ideas, then we want to do it in the best way possible so that people understand us, that we understand them, and start making those connections. And that's where trust gets built, and how things can start to change for people in their relationships if they can kind of figure out some of these little tools. So the first thing I was going to talk about, and then I've talked about this before with teachers, is knowing who you are when you walk into the room. So when you walk into the building, knowing who you are that's walking in. Who is that person? Do you have a lot of baggage that you're bringing in as well? It could be baggage from a lifetime. It could be baggage from the night before or that morning that kind of threw things off. So what are you walking in with, and what mindset do you have when you walk into the building to start educating people? So that's the main kind of idea behind it, that if we're not aware of those things, then we're going to have issues, because things are going to pop up that we don't realize, and we may not respond the way we want to. We may not act the way we want to. So, kind of deepening your understanding of yourself allows for more change. And you go, you know what? That's a really old thing that I've been kind of hanging on to for a while, and it keeps popping up in my relationships with my teammates that I work with the students I work with. So I need to start figuring out what's going on in the background here so that I can be a better person, period, let alone a teacher or a coworker or a parent. So knowing those things and knowing that baggage allows you to be just more open, right? You start realizing that we all have flaws, that we've all made decisions and choices in our lives that we can regret. I heard someone talking about not liking regret, that regret's not a good thing. I disagree. I think regret is an okay thing. Now, if you sit and dwell on regret and it really kind of overtakes you, that's more like shame, and shame is not a good thing to kind of wallow in. Shame is a man-made thing. It's not a real thing. Regret is a thing that we have built into our system that kind of helps us recognize when things have gone wrong. So I don't mind having regrets. I don't want to have regrets from years ago of things I cannot change, but more of things that I can change. So I don't mind having a little regret, being like, man, the way I interacted with that person 10 years ago, that really made me feel terrible, and it made them feel terrible. I'm not going to do that again, or I'm going to make the best effort I can to not have that happen again. So a little bit of regret is okay. But being open like that allows you to be more understanding for the people around you. So if I have a student who's having a difficult time, and I'm seeing a lot of behaviors, whether they're explosive or whether they're just shutting down behaviors, I have to be able to have the open-mindedness to see that student's behavior as a message being sent to me that's saying something's up, something is wrong, and I have to be open and understanding to be able to find out what that is. Okay? A lot of people feel that that's kind of like coddling. I don't think that's coddling. I think that's helping people understand what they're feeling, and then helping people understand why they're feeling that and how to move on past it. Recognize those feelings, get to know them and understand them, so when they happen, you can feel it, you can recognize it, and then you're able to move past it. If you bury feelings, if you don't address them, they are going to circle back, and they're gonna nip you in the butt pretty good. So you want to be aware of that stuff so that you can be present for other people. And I think just in general, I think when we interact with other people and we communicate with other people and we're transferring this information back and forth, it's really important for you to see a child or anybody you interact with and put them in a box, right? That child has a diagnosis. That child has an IEP. That child has a disability of some sort. That person is a man. That person is a woman. That person is of a political vein. Anything that you can kind of box people into is an unhealthy way of approaching any kind of interaction with people. So you want to kind of know, again, that could be baggage of yours, right? Maybe I grew up with somebody who was very racist in my family. So those racist terms, those kind of things are in my background, and I'm familiar with them, and I see somebody who fits that description, and then those things come flooding forward, and I have to know that's where I came from, and that's why I think that way. I got to know how it makes me feel so that I can then move forward in a more thoughtful, understanding way, and not fall into those old habits and those old feelings that kind of come up, throughout the time. So it's important to be understanding, and it's important to be thoughtful and compassionate. And I think that if we start looking at each other that way, it could change things quite a bit. If I'm not trying to look at somebody as a building administrator, a principal, and like, oh, they're a lofty group, they are elitist, they are any kind of label you want to throw on them, they may begin to behave that way, or they're going to continue to be looked at by me that way, and so I don't leave any opportunity for change. And I don't give myself any opportunity to understand things. And so that's the biggest part of this, right? The minute I start boxing things out, the minute I start losing the opportunity to learn something new, to change the way I think. But that is part of the scary part, because sometimes you do talk to people, and sometimes you do put yourself out there, and you get shut down, or you get marginalized, or people start shifting your thinking. And to shift your thinking takes internal growth, and it takes some internal pain. So it's okay to be scared of those things. Just know that being open to change and being open to understanding other people's points of view doesn't mean that you fundamentally as a person is going to change. It just might change your viewpoints, it might change your ideas, but it can still be kind of a scary thing. And the exchanging of information and the exchanging of ideas is kind of how we work. It's part of what we do. I have lots of friends that are on the political spectrum, from extreme right to extreme left, and I love all of them, and I can see and understand where they're coming from in their ideas and what they believe. And me being understanding about what somebody believes says something to them about me. So it's not just about me changing them or them changing me. It's, again, being present with somebody else and being able to be with them and not have all those constraints that we put on ourselves that limit us. They limit us. That's the biggest thing I want you to take away from this. I don't want to shut down my learning. I don't want to shut down my understanding. So I may have a conversation with somebody who believes things very different than I do. That is an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for me to be understanding to somebody else and see their point of view. I do not have to agree with it. I do not have to like it. But just doing that does things to that other person. Even if they go, oh, he still thinks and believes this way, they go, yeah, but you know what? At least he's a good listener and he understands where I'm coming from, and I appreciate that about him. So again, it's just kind of this exchange of ideas that allows us to kind of be people with each other. And that's what you want. You want people to be authentic, right? You want people to be genuine. That's something I hope that comes across in the people that I interact with, whether it's a moment that I meet somebody on the street just saying hi as I walk by, or it's somebody that I have a deep relationship with. I want them to come away from interacting with me knowing, oh, I think I know who that person is. He smiled at me, said hi, made eye contact. So it looks like he's pretty open, understanding, and kind. I hope that I'm still developing my relationships with people that are very close to me, and they see me as a genuine and understanding person. So that's always kind of been my goal, is to be that way in the world, is to just be present and to be open. That's not to say that I don't have ideas and opinions and all those kind of things. Those things still exist, of course. I'm a human being just like everybody else. But I try to set a lot of those things aside and just be present for people, because if anything's taught me in cognitive coaching when I was a coach for my school district, is I would go into a coaching meeting thinking that I knew what we were going to talk about. I knew the issues the teacher was concerned about, and I had some ideas about how to fix it. And that's not being present with somebody. So I often walked into a meeting thinking I had an idea of what we were going to talk about, and it went a completely different way. And I learned a lot from the exchange, and I hope that they learned a lot from the exchange. So when we come in with preconceived notions, whatever they are, it usually stifles an opportunity to be genuine and to be present with somebody. So We don't want people to feel attacked, and often when we feel attacked, we feel like somebody is attacking our person, right? Whereas they might be attacking an idea. They might be attacking, I'll use attack loosely, maybe they're upset that you think about something a certain way. But often we associate our ideas with who we are inside. And ideas and thoughts are just ideas and thoughts. And we as people can make connections and get along with each other and still have the thoughts that we think are important and the ideas that we think are important. And honestly, if an idea is that good and that awesome, then you should be able to share it with anybody and not care what they say about it, what their negative or positive responses are. That's what you believe. And if anything, they add to the understanding of what it is that you believe and validate it or don't validate it and go like, maybe I need to readjust how I'm thinking about this because I just had somebody I really think is awesome or that I care about or who means something to me say, have you ever thought about it differently? I kind of see it this way. So that's how change happens. And that's kind of, what the goal is, I think, as being a person, is that we are always changing. We are always kind of in flux. I wish sometimes the world was stagnant and we could kind of just enjoy things for a while, but something's always happening, right? And remember, I've said this in the past podcasts, we're not supposed to be one thing all the time. This roller coaster ride of a life is supposed to be highs and lows, happiness, depression, things happen, obstacles in the road, joyful moments. All those things are part of being alive and being a human being. And the more we can recognize them for that, the more we are open to understanding each other and allow ourselves to kind of like move through life in a much more calm, understanding way. So that's my little 2 cents today. I went a little longer than I thought, but I have a new mic on today that I thought might help with the sound because it was kind of echoey because I do kind of record in an open space. So I hope it sounds a little bit better. If you have any questions or concerns, please email me, Simon, SYMON, Sanborn, SANBORN, @gmail.com. I'll try to answer anything I can. I'll try to answer any concerns that people have. If you have questions, I'll try to answer those. If you have ideas, if you have other points of view about things, please let me know in an email. I will be happy to respond to that. And maybe if there's tools and ideas that I can share on here, that would be great. And I would probably even share ideas that go against my thinking so that I can have a little bit of a dialogue about how I might think differently about it. There won't be any attacking and anything like that for people. So I ask that also that of you is if you do have questions, concerns, or you have comments or things that you feel you want to say, make them constructive. I'm always willing to grow and change and adjust things for myself as I follow my own path. So just do it kindly. That's all I ask. Just be a person that if you really want change, then you want to address it in the right way so that I know you're not just trying to troll me. All right? So have an awesome, awesome long weekend and take care of yourself and take care of each other. Thanks for taking the time.